In all honesty, it's justified. Because what the courts have said in this Brian Flores situation and in the John Gruden situation is that the league, who hands down these kind of punishments, has no business arbitrating the appeals process. That is absolutely correct. So if the league makes this decision, then the very office that made the decision is who you got to go to plead your case to. Nah, the courts are like, no, that ain't happening. And the fact that that hasn't happened speaks volumes. Because in Brian Flores' case, at this moment, I'll veer right to give you props. There were 7 head coaching openings. 1 black coach got hired, New York Jets, which obviously you play a very significant role in influencing what kind of decisions they make. So props to you, sir, with hiring Aaron Glenn. Brian Flores was a damn good coach when he was in Miami. And he wanted Justin Herbert, from what I understand, instead of Tua Tagovailoa. So there's some differences there, what have you. I don't know what Stephen Ross, whether there's any truth to what he says Stephen Ross said or anything like that. Bill Belichick, accidentally sending a text talking about Brian Dable, the Bills or the Giants' job is yours. Not the Bills, I forgot which one it was, but it was the Giants and someone else. The job is yours if you want it instead of Brian Flores. As a black man with the Rooney Rule in place, it's always been, I should say always, but 99% of the time it has been about, it's just a gratuitous interview where, okay, you're just going through the motions, but we know exactly who we want to hire. And that's not putting black men in a position to succeed on the National Football League level. So Brian Flores is making the case for that and wants it publicly seen. The NFL obviously prefers otherwise. The court has said nah, and now they can take it to the Supreme Court or they're going to have to settle. Somehow, some way, this is a changing of the guard, I said. I never thought that we'd see a couple of rulings in the span of a week where the courts have said the way you have customarily done business is no longer something we deem acceptable. I never thought that would happen. And I'm going to go here. But this kind of stuff that happened during the Trump administration being in office, with some of the judges that they try to prevent, one would be shocked. And I am in no way implying that the president and his administration has anything to do with these decisions. I'm just saying, considering the climate, you would think they'd be more protective of a multi-billion-dollar conglomerate like the National Football League. In these 2 instances, there's the decision that veered left in that regard. That's quite shocking, too. The NFL, things are getting very, very interesting and, dare I say, very, very dicey for the league right now with the John Gruden case and now this.
So context here is all employees had those arbitration clauses, yes, myself included. And I would think the NFL, in light of what happened with both John Gruden and Coach Flores, I would think they would settle sooner rather than later, because this way they could keep that precedent with other front office people, other employees, and other coaches. The other thing I would say about Brian Flores is this. We interviewed him. I was part of the Jets search last winter when we did hire Aaron Glenn. We interviewed Brian Flores, who was outstanding. And look, if they play well again on defense with a young quarterback and J.J. McCarthy, the NFL ultimately is a meritocracy. He'll get another opportunity, just given how good this Minnesota defense has been. I don't remember how many other interviews he had besides the Jets, but he'll be in the mix certainly again. So I would think the league will quickly pivot and try to settle these cases because, again, having that arbitration clause, which other sports have as well, is important for how they operate. And I'm sure they're not going to want to have a federal district court sort of, proceeding where they have to have depositions and cross-examination for a lot of things you mentioned. And then I think as it relates to Coach Flores, barring something unforeseen, I think he'll be a head coach again in the next year or 2.
Okay, I want to come back to that exact point, but Woody, I want you to jump in.
No, I just think that, number one, the fact that the NFL was a judge, jury, and executioner was just so crazy. And the courts would be like, no, all of this is just got to stop. There's no way that we continue, with this type of setup moving forward. But I think, when you look at both Brian Flores and John Gruden, the one thing that both of these guys want, These guys, both these guys want all the smoke with the NFL right now. Like, they are willing to take this thing all the way. And John Gruden has the resources to be able to go ahead and do that with the National Football League. And I think the NFL doesn't want to go all the way with this. The NFL wants to settle this because why in the world do you want any of your business, out in the open for the public to know and see up close and personal?
That's any business, and we know that. The two interviews, by the way, for Brian Flores was the New York Giants and the Denver Broncos. That's number one. Number two, to bring up the Gruden case, because we're going to go. This is first take, this is what we do. Let me say this. What he did was egregious. Insulting DeMaurice Smith, the way former NFL PA executive director, the way that he did, or out of pocket. Certainly, going off about the Rams and the whole Michael Sam thing, and the NFL compelling the Rams to draft Michael Sam, the first, gay player to come out and draft, openly, that is. So you had that going on. And he said some other things that were egregious as well. So when John Gruden resigned, and the momentum that was there at that particular moment in time, you're damn right he should have resigned. You're damn right he should have lost his job. Nobody's refuting that. But we've seen worse come back into the NFL. And when you think about John Gruden, you think about football. And the one thing that I put us, this network, on Front Street about is that John Gruden worked Monday Night Football here. John Gruden was a friend of this show. He was a friend of various shows, of various colleagues here, and then people scattered like Lord knows what. Nah, I was never down for that. You know what? You call somebody to the carpet. You let them know they messed up bad, and they got to get their comeuppance, and they got to suffer the consequences. But should it have been a death sentence? My answer is no. And so now that we sit here and we see that John Gruden is pointing out, like, wait a minute, leaked emails, diming me out. He said there was a whole bunch of people that were saying this stuff. How I'm the one that got caught? Me and Bruce Allen, and that's it. But nobody else. See, that's an interesting question, which is why the NFL should settle. Okay, you don't want to let something like this drag on. All right, and that's the John Gruden case. In the Brian Flores case, there's only one thing that's gonna smooth this situation over. Brian Flores has to be a head coach in the National Football League because we know he's qualified.
Yep.
We know he deserves. We know he's an elite defensive coordinator. We saw the job he's done since he's departed from Miami, particularly in Minnesota. The man can coach his butt off, okay? He deserves to be a head coach again. If the NFL, I'm not talking about the league office, the collective body that is the NFL, wants this to go away, make sure this man gets a head coaching job because you know he's qualified. Because if he doesn't get a head coaching job, tacitly what that means is you called us out. You said we accused us of racism. We ain't hiring your ass. That's what you don't have to collude to come to that conclusion. Just innately, as a bunch of white billionaire owners, you can make that decision on your own. You can be like-minded. The point is, it's hazardous if they do that because it's going to add validity the way it said. There's no one that knows football, that has watched football, that will tell you that Brian Flores does not deserve to be a head coach in the NFL.
So riddle me this here on First Take. The likelihood of which outcome do you believe is more likely? He will get another job, or it will quietly
Are you ready for this?
Come on, let's go.
I believe, this is just my belief, that's all it is. I believe that both John Gruden and Brian Flores will find themselves back in the NFL as head coaches. I know Brian Flores is still here, but I'm saying, because here's my point. If you're smart, that's exactly what will happen. That's exactly what would happen. It's not to say that John Gruden is innocent and you're going to forget what those emails revealed. But the bottom line is that you've let people back in the league for doing worse. And it shouldn't be a death sentence. So you got that going on. And in the case of Brian Flores, there is no excuse why this man is not a head coach in the NFL right now. How's life in Miami with Mike McDaniels? How's that going? How's that going? They can't win. They can't win when the weather's 50 degrees or lower. I mean, literally, it's an indictment against the franchise because they can't play in inclement weather. And that ain't even inclement weather. It could be sunshiny and 48 degrees, and it's too much for them. That weather stops the Miami Dolphins from winning. That's in the Mike McDaniels era. That ain't in the Brian Flores era. That man can coach.
Yeah.
That man deserves a head coaching job in the National Football League.
To take that a step further, just talking to Brian through the interview process, what was really interesting is how self-aware he was about what happened in Miami. It was really refreshing. Like, hey, I learned a lot. I know what I would do differently. And again, like, we all know about momentum candidates. If the Minnesota Vikings go on a deep playoff run or their defense plays as well as it has in the past, he'll be beyond reproach relative to his qualifications to be a head coach again, which, again, he deserves. But we all know, like, how Minnesota plays this year will be a big part of that.
Absolutely so. But that's more about their offense because you're investing in a rookie quarterback that hasn't thrown an NFL pass yet. You got rid of Sam Darnold, who threw 35 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, threw for over 4,300 yards, and now he's a Seattle Seahawk. So it's more about the offense. As long as the defense maintains who it's been, Brian Flores will be fine. But when you look at Miami, remember Tua Tagovailoa spoke out against him and how harsh he was or whatever. So I think there are certain things that Brian Flores would do differently in terms of communicating with his quarterback, particularly his personnel, guys that you don't want. We understand that. You live, you learn, et cetera, et cetera. But the defensive mind of this man, the football brilliance of this man, the leadership capability that others have vouched for him and say that he has shown since departing from Miami mandates that you've got to put him back in the head coaching spot. It can't be some gratuitous interview that's violating the Rooney Rule. You just appeasing everybody, but we know you don't have any intention of hiring him. John Gruden is a different matter because what that calls upon the NFL to do and everybody in the NFL to do is engage in a level of forgiveness, remembering we're a land of second chances. And does this man, as egregious as it was, nobody letting him off the hook now, let that man stand in front of the media and explain himself and what the hell he was doing and what's saying over those emails. But in the end, does it warrant a death sentence? When you're willing to say that, then it gives people a license to look at everything else that has transpired with players, with coaches, with executives over the years and say, where was their death sentence? That's the issue. And so I think the NFL is smart enough to recognize, man, we making billions. We all over the damn place. What network ain't we on? Come on, y'all. Let's move past this. It ain't going to compromise the brand, but so much. And I think that's how people are going to think.
Woody, both of these gentlemen back into the NFL as head coaches, according to SA. Thoughts?
If the NFL was smart, they would do it. If the
Y'all
NFL
keep saying that, but I need to know if we think the NFL is smart or not.
I believe they are.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
It'll
yeah.
be hard.
Oh, yeah.
No. Your skepticism is right, Eminem.
No, listen.
You're absolutely right.
Listen. The NFL has had, the whole COVID situation and the guarantee money. Remember, the NFL kind of had talks with everyone to kind of suppress the the momentum towards guaranteed contracts. It's not like the NFL hasn't had these type of talks with all the owners and all the teams. They've had these type of talks behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't surprise me if they said, okay, in order for us to truly put this behind us, we need to somehow, some way get these guys back.
I got something to tell y'all too. I've gotten to know Roger Goodell a little bit over the last few years. Smart as a whip, highly accomplished, obviously, very strong in his views, et cetera, et cetera. But modification is not something he's allergic to. Alteration is not something he's allergic to. You make a case. He's the kind of person that he's a grown man. And it's about business. Hey, that's a good point. Got to think that. Got to rethink that, et cetera. And I think that because of the climate that we're living in, now see, I'm going to go there because I can, okay? When the previous administration was in office, ain't no way in hell because times were different. I'm not judging. I'm just pointing that out. But with times having been altered a little bit, people are thinking a little bit different. Just look at the climate we're living in. And I don't think that people are as stringent against such things as they once were.
We'll see if we have time later in the show to revisit this because I got more questions, but we got a guest. So we got to button up this segment where it stands right now.